Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 5 Tips and Tricks for Careers in Athletics. I am your host, Dr. Maury Mosovitz, with my all-time favorite, most wonderful co-host of all times, Jen Albanese. Welcome, Jen.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. Hi, Maury. How are you?
I'm super excited. There's a
Super.
gentleman, super excited.
Super excited.
The AD, newly minted AD
yes.
of Army West Point, who is a friend of ours, which is awesome.
Yes.
I knew him as Thomas Theodorakis, but everyone calls him Tom or Theo.
Yeah, he's big time now. Like
he's
is big
so
time.
big time.
This is so exciting. This is our first AD, I think, right?
Yes, first AD, which is a great one to start with because great guy.
Yes,
100% deserves to be in the AD's chair.
We're so happy for him. So happy for him.
Some great advice and at a just historic, awesome institution, which is really cool. So
yeah.
We actually got to visit him before he was named AD when he was a deputy AD at Army.
That's right.
He took us around.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that was so much fun. Nice little added bonus to our summer vacation last year, which was really cool. All because of you. You reached out to him.
Yeah. So I guess in context, so people know, I was the lacrosse manager for Theo, Tom, when he was at Syracuse. And so we've kept in touch. And we were going up to visit Legoland.
We went to Legoland in Goshen, New York. Yeah,
so and
close to Army West Point.
Not far from Army. I was like, I should reach out and see if he's around. And he offered to take us on a tour, which was so cool.
Oh my God. I mean, the fact that, we've talked about our family on this podcast before. Like, we have 4 children, under 7 and under at that point. Okay. And our in-laws and our spouses. So there was 10 of us trying to get on this Army, onto base basically. And so right there in itself, he should be minted as a saint.
Exactly.
For trying to do all of that.
And then he took us on an incredible tour, all around the athletic department, told us about and talked to us about the Army-Navy game and him being on that committee and how they plan it and how they plan the uniforms, and showed us the facilities, which are really cool, and all the houses on base and the history. And he knew so much. It's incredible. I think all the adults, maybe some of the kids, even thought that was the best part of the trip.
Yeah. I mean, so cool. Because when you go into the athletic department, they had all the uniforms, especially the uniforms they wear for the Army Navy games. So the boys thought that was super cool. And then the fact that he took the time to even have us drive onto campus and show us the dining hall and show us where they stay, where they stay on the barracks
and
the barracks and the houses that the staff and everybody
which I
gets
believe
to live
he just got a new AD's house,
so
which
cool.
will be so cool,
so
which I
cool.
know they do tailgating and stuff at. So and
it was just cool, the view of where it was right on the Hudson there, and
beautiful.
We have some great family photos that we took there. But it was just and he took so much time with us. It wasn't
he taught us about the Revolutionary War and how they put a train across the Hudson River, and that it was one of the first one of the first bases in the entire United States, and just he knew all this amazing stuff. And it's also so nice to see how proud he is about working for West Point and what they do there, and what it is to be a cadet there, and then at the same time how proud he was of the athletic department. So people really are going to appreciate this episode because he has got so many cool things to say.
Yeah, it was an awesome experience. We said, Legoland was fun, but for the adults, I think this was probably the best part of the trip. So we'll have to post some pictures on social because we had some really good photos of where we got to go and see, and it was pretty awesome. So, so excited to talk with him and so happy for him. So,
and with that, we don't want to hold everyone up. When we get back, the great Theo Thomas Theodorakis, the new AD at Army West Point.
Are you a loyal 5 Tips and Tricks podcast listener? If not, now is the time to start. Get all your info and fun content on the podcast by following us on all our social channels at @AthCareerPod. The 5 Tips and Tricks podcast is a part of Athletic Career Consulting. Make sure to reach out to us. The one-stop shop for everything is our website, www.athcareer.com. Remember, follow and like us on @AthCareerPod, rate and review us, and get all your info at www.athcareer.com. Okay, everybody, welcome back. Maury, would you like to introduce our guest today?
Absolutely. Today, we're excited to introduce a dynamic leader in college athletics with an impressive journey that spans over 16 years at NCAA Division I level. A proud graduate of Syracuse, he was a member of the 2004 National Championship men's lacrosse team, holds a master's degree in sports administration from the United States, from University of Northern Colorado. He also is a graduate of the Sports Management Institute Executive Program, has attended courses at the University of Michigan Ross School of Business and the University of Texas McCombs School of Business. He began his career at the United States Air Force Academy, where he worked in the Marketing Development Office and volunteered as a coach for men's lacrosse team. After that, he spent 5 years at Arizona as an assistant athletic director for development, playing a crucial role in major capital projects, including the Lowe Stevenson football facilities and McHale Center renovation projects. He continued to make an impact at Arizona, returning as associate athletic director for development, where he led efforts that contributed to over $67 million in capital campaign support. He then spent time at UCLA as associate athletic director for external affairs, overseeing the development office and driving significant growth in the groundbreaking of 2 major training facilities. In 2021, he took on the role of senior associate athletic director at Harvard University, where he developed strategies for revenue generation and external engagement. Arriving in Army West Point in July 2022 as a senior associate athletic director for external operations, he quickly ascended to deputy athletic director in March of 2024. In his capacity, he led external units for Army West Point athletics, focusing on development, strategy, communications, licensing, branding, and revenue generation. He served as sport administrator for men's basketball and men's lacrosse program, as a member of the Army-Navy Steering Committee, organizing one of the nation's most iconic rivalry games. In February 2025, he was named the 31st Director of Athletics at Army West Point, overseeing the athletic support and operations for all cadets at the historic United States institution. Join us today in welcoming Tom Theodorakis. Welcome, Tom. That's such a mouthful to get out because of all your amazing accomplishments. So I'm so excited to be able to give.
Maury, you did an amazing job. Like, you're my hype man. I need you around me all the time. Thank you. You made me sound a lot more important. So I appreciate it.
Back in college, I pepped you up. I'll pep you up now too.
You certainly did. And we can go down that route if you want.
We can go far down that route.
The best manager ever in the history of Syracuse lacrosse, and I can't imagine anyone better in any sport.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Assistance and help, and unbelievable.
It feels like a long time ago.
By the way, just putting up with us is unbelievable. Yes,
well, it was enjoyable. 100%. It was enjoyable.
Yeah.
Well, we're so excited to have you, especially in your new role. Like, we're just so grateful that you spent the time. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's overwhelming. You know, it's almost every emotion, right? You're excited. Yeah. You're ready to get to work. You're trying to figure everything out. But wow, I appreciate that, and couldn't be more privileged and honored to be the director of athletics here at Army West Point.
Well, we're excited and honored to have you as our guest.
Absolutely. And people could not get anyone that could give them better tips than you. So with that, let's start with your first tip.
I appreciate that. You know, I think for me, starting out it was important in my career, at least. I would just say getting out of my comfort zone, you know, and with that is this ability to kind of go where the opportunity lies. So, I mean, this is such a competitive business and a competitive industry that, you know, for me personally, I grew up in New York my whole life. I went to school in New York. I think for me, it was just important to get out and, like I said, go where the opportunity lies. So if someone's willing to take a chance on you in any place, just get your foot in the door. My confidence, and I was just hopeful that, you know what, if I got that opportunity, I could work my way up, or at least prove myself where I'd say, you know what, I'm indispensable. You have to hire me. Yeah, you have to keep me here, right? So, and thank God I did that. I think for me, it was just a growth opportunity personally, professionally. You know, I wound up moving to Colorado where, you know, I'd never seen mountains like that before. I'd never seen, you know, beautiful landscape like that. Even Arizona, it looked like a different planet. Right. Like if you told me I'd ever live in Tucson my whole life, I'd laugh at you, right? But I mean, wow, what a special place. And for me now, and I thank God I did it, and I have a lot of friends to this day from that experience. It really helped me in my journey. That I said, eventually I want to get back to the East Coast, but maybe these stops and as I go along the way will only help me get to that place eventually. So for me, it was always kind of tell people it's such a competitive business that if anyone's willing to take a chance on you, or even if you said, I never thought I'd live here, maybe that could be the best decision you ever make. And for me, it certainly was.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, when people are there to support you and say, hey, like, I want you to come and be a part of this team, what a great opportunity is for any of these people that are young. And you got to kind of get over that hump of being a little afraid. And that's with new challenges, whether it's at where you're at right now, like you jump from one position to another, or it's going to a new place that's willing to embrace you and bring you into their fold. So it's awesome.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, don't be afraid to go somewhere where you might not have thought you would go. I think sometimes students think like, okay, this is like the career path that I want to have. And if I veer off of that, it might not take me where I want to go. And to go where those opportunities are, you don't know what lies after that, or the people that you meet at those places, or the experiences that you get. So it is a little bit scary, I think, to be like, yeah, I'm going to go move to Tucson, or you never would think to do that, but to be able to get over that, and there's opportunity that lies ahead of that. So that's a good one.
100%. I like to use this analogy when talking to students, even younger staff. So when I was at Air Force, we were in the same conference, the Mountain West Conference with Wyoming, and we did a conference basketball tournament, but staffs get together during that time to talk shop. I was at a table with an individual who 12 years later hired me at UCLA.
Oh my gosh.
So it was one of those things where he's at Wyoming, right? And I'm at Air Force, and we just sat next to each other and just started talking.
Right.
And just by happenstance, all of a sudden, when there's an opportunity at UCLA, hey, and then a lot happened since then, but it was like, that was an opportunity that you never know who you're talking to or who you're sitting next to, that eventually that could make sense down the line.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Great advice.
I love that.
Yep.
And everyone, the athletics world is such a small community. Everyone's going to come back at some point and say, hey, I bumped into you at this point, or I met you here. So, 100%.
Good thing and a bad thing, right? Like, good thing I had good manners, right?
Exactly. You didn't have anything in between your teeth.
Yeah, I was going to say like a loud burp or something where they're like, oh. Yeah.
Not taking that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Great tip. Okay, number 2.
For me, this is probably more of a life lesson or just a good life tip. Have a support system. So for me, as I've gone through this journey the last 18 years now, and it's certainly evolved with my kind of core group or support system that I have, but I'm not where I am today if it's not for people that I could lean on just to ask questions to, or just vent sometimes, or honestly for them to vent to me. It's always a two-way street. But for me, I have an inner circle of people and individuals that I trust, that when there are those hard days, which all of you know happen, it's not a matter of if, but just when, that I know I felt comfortable, whether it's a ride home from work or it's to work, or it doesn't necessarily even need to be in the business. But it's good to have a diverse kind of group of experiences. But for me, it's just been so helpful to have a group of people that I could talk to when I wasn't sure about something, or something was not making sense to me, or I just honestly just needed to have some time to get my thoughts just out of my brain. So I think for me, just finding your support system has been so helpful in my life. Again, not just professionally, but personally too. So I do challenge people as they go through this crazy, hectic life of college athletics to make sure you rely on people that have been in your shoes before, or are in your similar spots and positions. Because, in many instances, people have gone through that, or have gone through a similar manner, where it's one of the beautiful things about this industry is that you can pick up the phone and call or ask or message someone on LinkedIn, or most of the time they're going to respond to you, and you can build a connection pretty quickly.
Yeah.
No,
that's Maury. I go vent to Maury all the time.
Yeah.
And he's like,
good to have
he sees me coming and he's like, oh no.
Yeah, exactly.
What's going on this
Exactly. Good. Right? Exactly. Let's go grab coffee and talk about it.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. That's good. That's good.
You know, one of the things I'd ask is, I know like sometimes younger staff comes to me and they're like, hey, I was afraid like I was going to bother you, or, you know, they feel like that they don't want to like interrupt you and they know they're really busy, but like, how do you feel like when you were like, how do you feel now, especially being in your position, to say, hey, like, it's okay, like that's part of the job and the mentorship and how you develop those relationships with people and kind of got over that fear of like creating those connections?
Yeah, so I would say, Maury, I think for me as a leader, I try to show vulnerability as much as possible. Like, I am not smart enough oftentimes, you know, where it's like, I need the right people in the room, and I need, I'm not afraid to say, you know what, I don't know. I'm not afraid to say, oh, this scares me, or what about this? Or, you know, so I think for me, as I've gone on through my career, whether it's this role or even just previously, it was just, you know, be your authentic self and don't be afraid to show the emotion where, you know what, it might be something that you need to get off your chest, or you just say, you know what, in a respectful way, find the time to be direct with people or share what's on your mind. I think all those things normally lead down a path of being very constructive and positive down the line to make us all better. So I've kind of always tried to show that as much as possible. But even kind of in my role now as a leader, I try to maybe do that on the forefront to make people feel comfortable that they can be okay and share. And you know, most of the time I'm telling them, you're way ahead of the game than I was at your age. So it's that type of mentality. And honestly, I like to throw humor in it a lot too. Right. Like, we take our jobs way too seriously. And I think especially at this place, it's way too serious. It should be, but it's like, hey, we don't need to be robots either. And we can laugh and we can have fun. And hopefully that creates a culture where people feel comfortable doing that.
No, that's awesome.
I love that. Don't take yourself too seriously, because I feel like everything is always so stressful sometimes, and it's like, let's step back. Like, a lot of what we're doing is bringing joy to other people. Like, they're coming to watch a game, and we get to entertain them in some respect. And I know it's a business and all of that, but like, we're just bringing joy to people. We're entertaining people for a few hours when they come to watch one of our games. So I love that, because people forget that sometimes, I think. So
awesome.
Good one. Good one.
Okay.
Good one.
Good stuff. Ready for number 3?
Number 3 is actually a rule I got from Theo Epstein, the former GM of the Boston Red Sox. So he had what he called the 20% rule. I think for me, I see like the spirit and message of this is more of like what he used to call is, hey, there's 20% of your job that your boss hates doing or just doesn't like doing. Learn that 20%, because what's that going to do? Number one, it's going to make him or her feel better that, you know, it's off their desk, but it kind of gives you opportunity to take on more work. And I think eventually leads to building trust and ultimately, you know, gives you more opportunities to do other things. So for me, I've always kind of taken that as, maybe it's not the 20%, but I think in general, what can you do to your supervisor to take stuff off their desk, right? So after you completed all the tasks you need to do or whatever projects, et cetera, but, you know, I always try to knock on the door and say, hey, what do you need from me? Is there anything that I can help with as much as possible, almost being annoying about it, to the fact of that's helped me in my career, just take on new things. You know what? Hey, can you do this for me? Oftentimes it might be a small task or it might seem that way, but maybe be something important or big for your supervisor, just not to worry about anymore, right? Or to take off his or her shoulders. So I've kind of always looked at that rule of how can I just make the life of my supervisor a bit easier if there's some things I can learn that they're doing or don't want to do that I can take pride in doing. And I think ultimately leads to a good place.
That's awesome. I've heard you say this before, and I actually was in situations that after we talked where I started thinking about that and said, hey, like when I go in and talk to my supervisor, how do I need to give them the confidence saying, hey, like, how can I help you? You know, how is there a way to be a support? Because, you know, there are oftentimes as a supervisor people that looking to support you, and sometimes that can be overwhelming, especially when all the things are changing in the world around them. And I feel like when I started thinking that way and I had a mentality that helped even more, especially like in the tougher times when my supervisor or people kind of in the higher positions around me were kind of really dealing with some things that I weren't on my plate, but I knew was affecting them. It made it a much, it was not the way I was thinking. And I think it helped our relationship. I think it helps with the way that I was able to support them and do things. So I thought that was a great tip.
Yeah, it's like reframing when your boss is giving you a task, even if it's like something you might not want to do, like reframing it in your mind, like this is an opportunity, not like a hindrance to what you're trying to do. Like they're trying to give you more and you're trying to take more from them to be able to learn from that. And then they rely on you more. And I try to do that with my staff too, like on a much smaller level, obviously, but like, when one of my team says to me like, hey, I already did that for you, or I already took care of that for you, it's like, ooh, that sticks out to me. Like, wow, they went above and beyond. I didn't even have to ask them to do it. They heard me talking about it. They knew it was something that was overwhelming me with everything else that was going on, and they just did it. Like those kind of people on staff that you work with, those people stand out, and then you rely on them and trust them even more. So I love that.
Jen, you said that a lot better than I did. So I feel like just take what you said. Yeah. That's my tip. Exactly. You said it better than I did. So well done.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a group effort. Everyone has to connect.
We're all working together.
100%.
It's a group effort.
That's why we're here.
That's a hockey assist right there.
It is an assist.
Perfect.
Yes.
There we go.
I'll take an assist. I never got one in any career that I had. No,
you got the goal.
I got it.
Yeah.
Jen, you played basketball. How did you never have one assist in your entire...
I did, but I played in sixth grade. Does that count? Like I don't know. I'm short. If anybody knows me, I'm 4 foot nothing. I went after seventh grade. I didn't go much farther.
It should all be assists. If you're 4 foot nothing, that's probably the only way you're scoring.
That's great.
All right. Okay. All right.
We'll get back to
I got the goal, not the assist.
That's awesome.
Okay. Number 4.
Let's talk more rec league basketball.
Yes,
that's what I want to do.
Perfect.
Yes.
That's what everyone wants to hear about.
Let's go.
Awesome.
So many tips for that.
Exactly.
Back on track. Number 4.
Yes. Number 4. Yes.
So I struggled with this one for a long time, and I think it's easy for me to say now, but not all career paths are necessarily linear. So what do I mean by that? Job titles, pay, all those things. Sometimes it's not one step. You're not necessarily always going higher or straight, if that makes sense. I think as I went through my career the last 18 years, there's been highs and lows and zigs and zags, and I think it's so easy in this industry. We're all very competitive people, right? To sit there and compare yourselves to others and say, you know what, I had more experience than that person. I didn't get that job. Why did that person get that job? And by the way, it's in our face all the time because you get newsletters, you get emails, and it pops up on your phone. And it's like, wow, how did this person get this? And, I think it's that whole idea that comparison just is the thief of joy. So I definitely in my career struggled with that. And looking back on it now, wow, I wish I was a bit more patient because it should be more about the work you're doing and the breadth of, the range of responsibilities and the impact you're making. That means more to me than anything, especially in my role now, looking at resumes. It's hey, what's the work you're actually doing rather than your job title? Mm-hmm. What's your skill set? How did you manage a tough situation? Almost the soft skills rather than, some of the other stuff or the fancy title. And I certainly have benefited from that, right? But I think now looking back on it, titles mean everything. They also mean absolutely nothing. And I think oftentimes I was chasing that for the wrong reason.
No,
that's such a good point.
Yeah. No, it's a really good point.
I think. Yeah. I think you said it perfectly, but it's the soft skills for me too. Always how do you feel about people? How do people make you feel when you work with them? Are they good teammates? Do they care about you? Anybody can, I'll talk from my experience on the marketing side of things. Anybody can put together a game script and do on-field promotions or work with the fans or make phone calls for a sales team. But it's how do they work as teammates? How do they work together? Are they willing to step up when somebody else can't do it? Are they there early? Do they stay late? Those are the things that you look at, not you've worked this many jobs and this is your title. Because, you know, it's about, we're spending time with these people. It's about how they make you feel. And I think people forget that very quickly when they first start. It's like, how do I become the AD? How do I become the GM? How do I get those big titles? Yeah. But it takes a lot more than just the title.
I'd say even too, like, go back to your example there, like writing the script. Okay, what happens when the scoreboard breaks?
Right.
You know, how do you react to it? Right. Pointing fingers, or you know, or are you the person, to use an Army analogy, like who's in your foxhole? So who's next to you that when this stuff does happen? Because by the way, it's gonna be the name of my book one. The name of my book one is gonna be the bus is gonna break down. Like that's what's gonna happen.
That was Maury's job. Figure out.
Yeah, actually, that's actually full circle. Exactly. Yes. So Maury,
were you on that bus? You were a student manager. Fire?
Actually, I think I was 100%.
The bus caught on fire?
Yeah.
When was that?
That's a whole other story that Thomas and I could get into.
No, that wasn't after a good game either, right? That was after
we lost. No. It was really bad.
So that's going to be the title of the bus.
Now look at us.
I did have to evacuate everyone from the bus, and I don't know if it was you that came up and told me it's smoking in the back, but I definitely had to stop the bus driver, and I will never. It was Bob, right? And we had to stop.
Bill.
It was Bill.
Bill Beck. Bill B.
Who was still driving a couple years ago up in Syracuse, if that scares you or not.
The man.
But yes, when the bus catches on fire, you want to know who's in your foxhole, and we were all together in there. So that's so funny.
Awesome. I'm glad we're connecting all the dots here.
Exactly.
Perfect. Now that I think seriously though, it's like that's going to happen in our business. You're going to get things, just your world's going to get rattled, and I think ultimately, how do you respond to it? I more look at that than anything else. Critical thinking, problem solving, teammates, like that stuff. How do you communicate? It means to me more than anything.
Yeah.
No, I think that's awesome, and I agree. I was thinking about kind of your earlier tip about your inner circle, and like, you're right. There's so many things in your face about this person got this title, or where you sit in the pecking order of things administratively, and it's just so much a part of at least collegiate athletics, and I think probably professional too. But I've tried to more recently in conversations be like, well, what are those people in that inner circle are giving me feedback about, and saying like, hey, you did an amazing job on this, and that really has been an achievement, and say, you know what, that's what I need to hang my hat on, and not think about what the next step is, what the next thing is, because that's going to come with doing the right things and doing the right jobs, and making sure that you're that person that people can rely on. So back to your previous thing, like, to me, that's really it's such a good tip, and something that I think everyone in the world of athletics is wrestling with at some point or another in their career.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good one. And to focus on more
of catch on fire.
It will catch on fire.
When that book comes out, you can come back on the podcast and we'll tell all the bus on fire stories.
Love it.
I'll proofread that section for you if you need. I can't remember the guy's name, but
and give a shout out to Bill, the bus driver. I hope you're listening, Bill.
I still tell stories about Bill. He's the best.
He was on many a bus trip. With that, here, this is the last question that takes us back in time. So this is perfect. Jen, set Tom up for the last and final question.
Okay. So what do you know now that you wish you knew then? So what do you know now at this point in your career that you wish you knew when you first started?
For me, it's just going back to like following the people, or, you know, being like not necessarily following the brands or the schools, so to speak, but as you go through your career, try to figure out who do you want to be around, who do you want to learn from. I benefited so greatly. Again, I'm in this chair because a lot of people took the time to invest in me as a person, as a professional. And sometimes these bigger names, you know, the buildings, beautiful buildings, they wear off quick, but the people inside of them are what's most important. So I think as people progress in their careers, I think try to focus on individuals who, you know, when you start having conversations about potentially taking a job, or, you know, ask the questions, what does success look like here? And what happens if I do well? Like, how do you, is there a track record of individuals growing here and moving up or moving on to other positions? Like, that means more to me than anything. And having gone through that, that's what I'm trying to emulate here at Army, is making sure everyone here knows that I'm invested in them and I want what's best for them. And my experience is when people know that, good things happen. So I think I do my best to try to make sure people feel appreciated, that I thank them for all the hard work and long weekends and long hours that they're working, but try to follow the people that are going to be invested in you, that are going to care for you, because this business is too hard not to have that. So whatever you do, try to find those individuals that are going to help make your life a bit easier and help you grow.
Awesome. Well,
Perfect.
We could not thank you enough for being here. We know you're a very busy man in a new role that we're so excited for you to have. Oh. And Jen and I said we want to come up and visit again. We got the chance to see you a little while ago, and we'd love to come back and see all the great stuff you're doing at Army. And, congratulations again. And we're just so thrilled that you were able to share what we've appreciated and got to hear from you that everyone else gets to hear. So thank you.
Yeah,
Maureen,
this
Jen,
is awesome.
Thank you. And we shared a lot of laughs today, but honestly, thank you guys for what you do for this industry. I think what you're doing and taking the time out of your busy lives and your families, I've met them. They're beautiful. Like,
He's saying that he did meet the kids.
It was a lot of fun.
He survived.
They were amazing. But you're taking the time to help other people. It should not go not mentioned. Like, thank you for your impact. Thank you for trying to help others, make that path a little easier for them as they go through this. It's working. So keep at it.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
All right.
And we wouldn't be able to do it without people like you being able to be on as guests, and we appreciate you taking the time. So thank you. This was so great, and I'm so happy for you, and congratulations. It's awesome.
All right.
So
thank you.
Well, everybody make sure to keep following the podcast. Follow us on all our social channels. Jen, you want to do some shout outs?
Yep. So on all of your social and podcast platforms at @AthCareerPod. And we'll have lots of content, and make sure you're every Tuesday a new episode drops, and we'll have Thomas soon. So
beat Navy.
Thank you so much.
There you go. Yeah, you always got to throw that in.
Always got to add that.
Yeah.
I know.
No better way to end a podcast from the AD Army than beat Navy.
Obviously.
Exactly.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Take care.
If you like the 5 Tips and Tricks podcast, make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. You can rate and review us, including questions that may be answered on future episodes. The 5 Tips and Tricks podcast for careers in athletics is part of Athletic Career Consulting. Check us out at www.athcareer.com. Don't forget to follow and like us on your top social media platforms.